So welcome everybody. It's nice to have you all here and to have Rochelle with us. And we have invited Rochelle to talk a little bit about what she does, but we will begin as we usually do. And we're going to do a soft landing in the present moment, an arrival meditation. So Rochelle, so happy to have you here, and I'm passing the baton on to you now. Okay?
Thank you, Piero. Oh, so good to be together and have this opportunity to practice. So I always like to invite, when we land into an arriving practice, that we be intentional about our connecting to the natural world. Realize most of us might be indoors, but even if it's just orienting your body towards or the direction of where you can feel most connected to the natural world, just invite you to do that, maybe through a window, opening a window, whatever that might be. And so then an invitation to find a posture and let the eyes close if that feels supportive for you. Really respecting this opportunity to practice by listening to what your body needs to settle in to this practice. Maybe it's been a busy morning, a busy day already. Maybe there's a more easeful or reclined posture that could be helpful. Maybe you feel a little tired, still waking up. So maybe a bit more of an engaged, alert posture. So as we begin to invite the body to arrive, invite ourselves into this practice, I really want to invite you to let yourself begin to attend to this place that you're a part of. Taking in the moment-to-moment environment that's here with you. Maybe that's opening to feel and sense the movement of sound. Maybe to take in the ways that the light is unfolding itself with you. Maybe it's to sense and feel this way that the earth is beneath you or around you or above you even if you're indoors. So invite this being here in this place, in this moment, giving ourselves the opportunity to put down what's already happened and to put down what hasn't happened. So as we arrive into this place, into the unfoldingness of it, we can arrive into our own inner sense of unfolding in whatever way our nature is at this moment. So maybe shifting the attention a little more inward to honor just being with how it is to arrive, with the nature of your being in this moment. Whatever the movements of the mind, of the heart, of the body, it's all welcome. Just the conditions of life unfolding. And so as we sit, this invitation to really be in the unfoldingness of life, however it is within, however it is in this place we're a part of, and just being with this unfolding dance of life. Resting into this moment. So studying in this way as we sit in silence together. And as we arrive to the last few minutes of this practice, appreciating the goodness that it is to be here. Maybe sensing a little more wakefulness to the moment, to this life that's unfolding itself. Really honoring the goodness that it is to be in this way with our life. Taking care to notice, is there more settledness, openness, kindness? Whatever it is for you, just honoring the beauty and the way this practice has supported you to arrive, to be here. Honoring that this goodness awakens us into being with all of life, with this earth, with all beings, a part of this earth. Be of service to our lives and to the lives of all beings. And so we'll make a gentle transition from our practice and the invitation to just find your way from shifting from practice to coming back together in our community. Maybe that's making movement, taking a deeper breath, gently opening the eyes, taking in the place you're with, taking in this community. And we'll come together for this opportunity to explore these beautiful teachings in community. Yeah. Thank you for letting me offer a arriving and settling practice. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Rochelle. It was beautiful.
Mhm.
So the floor is yours.
The whole
But
floor?
yeah, you're again, you're going to lead the conversation in any way you want. We have
Mhm.
good friends here, and Nellie is here. Linda, I see Nancy has joined us as well. Lynn, Scott. So, what would you like to tell us?
Well, I was reflecting on the sweet questions that you posed. I think you put out a recent article, blog of sorts on these questions, and I would actually love to speak to them, but I would also love a dialogue with you all around them rather than I maybe offer a little bit of my own thought on each question, but then that we pause and we, as a community, offer our reflections on that question. I think that could be really rich together. And Piero, of course, facilitating maybe a little interview style dialogue that we can all participate in is how I can see that unfolding. But I'll read the 4 questions, and am I right to presume that this community received your email that you sent out on all of these questions?
They are familiar with the questions. I don't know if they received the email this time, but they are familiar with the questions. And
Okay.
these questions come from Wayne Muller.
Mhm.
It's an author, and his little book is called "How Then Shall We Live?" How then shall we
Mhm.
live? 4 simple questions that reveal the meaning of life.
Mhm.
And so, if you would read the questions and
Yeah.
elaborate, and then we can think about the questions ourselves as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah. Yes, and he speaks to these as 4 fundamental questions to what you just named, Piero, about how we want to live. The 4 questions being 1, who am I? Which is such a lovely question. Number 2, what do I love? Number 3, how shall I live knowing that I will die? And number 4, what gifts do I bring to share with the family of the earth? You just hear there's so much inside just the reflection and the inquiry of that. And I appreciate the first, I think, so much because it is the heart of a lot of what our Buddhist teachings invite us into, to know the full meaning of what is it to say, who am I? This I, business. And so maybe for you, as you reflect on that question, it can be very easy to, I am this, and fill in the blank of the roles that we carry in our life. And that's one form. We take forms. If I think about who am I am Rochelle. That is a form of me. I am the one who wrote a book. I'm the one who practices psychology. I am these things. They are an expression of the form of me. But I think when we step into the more intentional truths about how we might want to live, which I think these questions are pointing us to, about who am I? I am life moving through life expressing life, I would say. And that built us out into a much wider web, at least for myself, of this reflection that I'm a constantly changing, evolving nature organism, and it's participating with the rest of all of this. And in that, who am I cannot be limited to those roles. It has to be part of this greater sense of life expressing life. Right? Just a simple remembering that if I take a breath in, I'm part of the life of this earth. I give a breath out, my breath is a part of that life too. Inextricably linked, right? So who am I has all these no bounds kind of form to sensing who I might be. It can be expanded, and the absence of that form begins to drop away. Right? So for me, that question is an ongoing one, actually. I don't know if that's how you hold it, but it's constantly, because every moment is unfolding and changing, and I choose to participate in both these ways. Yes, I hold a form, and yes, I'm part of all of this beautiful unfolding, that I can kind of lean back in that a little bit. It lets me soften around who Rochelle's supposed to be today. Like, even planning for this talk, Piero sent a little, I was like, oh yeah, I could do a lot of planning around that. Or I know Piero kind of really likes just let it rip. Let it roll. So I chose that form, and I can move and I can dance inside that playfulness of being part of life as it's unfolding. And that question, I think, really evokes our deep possibility for that. Right? If we choose to know that embodied sense of these bigger truths, that I am so much beyond this idea or these needs of the ways we have to adopt forms in our life, but I'm much more beyond that. And if I lean into that, it's quite delightful to be in that way with myself and others. So I'd just be curious, I'll pause it there to just hear what you all reflect on with that question, and maybe have you either chat if you feel more comfortable with that, or unmute, share.
Oh, so the question is, who am I?
Who am I?
Yeah. So if anybody wants to jump in, I'll jump in briefly and say, this question is difficult because I like to answer the question also together with who am I? I like to ask the question, who am I not? And I remember I wrote a poem. Actually, it was a bunch of questions together, but the last two lines of that poem, or the last three lines of the poem, if I remember, were something along this line, said, who am I when I'm not who I think I am? Who am I not? And what remains after all that I think I am is gone? What remains after all that I think I am is gone? So it's an enigma. But we have been exploring this as a group, and recently we create a lot of boiling in our group, saying in the first quarter or the first half of my life, I'm trying to become someone. And if I'm wise enough, in the last half of my life, I'm trying to become no one. Okay, it's
Yeah.
somebody else. Lynn, would you like to say? Oh, Nelly, go ahead.
I'm sorry, just because I do have to jump off, but what came up for me is so the name of some of you know the name of our organization is Aham, and Aham is it's a Sanskrit word that means I am.
Mm.
And when I see the question, who am I, which is a question that was posed in this way, it's been posed for most of my life this way, in terms of what is it, where does it really take me, to what Pierre was saying, and when all the layers peel off. And it kind of goes back to Aham. It's just the existence with infinite possibility. That's what feels truest to me, to the small me that is can't really wrap my head around it. Yet there's a trust in that, because when I lean into it, like Rochelle was saying, there's an ability to soften and to allow those possibilities to emerge. And then I get to play and have fun with it and choose something, right? Yet from that space, it's a realization that no matter what I choose, because there's no destination, I'm going to be all right. So, kind of the duality kind of disappears, just the ability to be with whatever is arising is easier. And yet it's so difficult to live that way. So I'm not really answering the questions, I guess, but in a way that's kind of what comes up for me in terms of what I lean into, so that I can really let go of this impulse to be somebody, because there's nobody to be. So thank you.
I love that, let go of the impulse to be somebody. There's nobody to be. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah.
I want to add or say for myself, I love what all three of you said, because the older I get, the more freedom I feel, that each moment is a new beginning and life unfolds. And I do nature, my husband and I every day go somewhere in nature. And doesn't matter what the birds are called or the animals are called, but we're just part of it all. And all the life cycles, the births, the deaths, the food, I mean, I don't know. It's a freedom to not be so caught up on me, and just see where life takes. And I was very intense and serious and trying to do the right thing when I was growing up. And now as a grandmother, it's just like a joy. That grandkids are crying, they're laughing. It's like you can observe, and this too shall pass. So new beginnings each moment.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah. Penelope's sharing, I am fully open to life, childlike, love to serve, feel peaceful and close to nature and community. Beautiful. And Neely signing off to say goodbye to us all. Thank you and pleasure to meet you all, and excited about the retreat in August. Yeah, so maybe a good segue to love, right? The next question. Oh, what do I love? It's kind of a natural inclination from that first question when we opened the way that you all were we were speaking to, right? Once we're in that more spacious, open place, maybe we love all of it. There's no parameters that love gets to say only that and not that, right? And I think when we know that I am part of or not separate from all of this, the heart just naturally inclines itself to love everything, to not push anything away. Nothing is separate. So when I reflect on love, it's also this kind of boundless boundless engagement with life to love. And I don't think it's even a doing activity, right? The part of that question says, what do I love? Like I need to do something to love. If there's no doing, it's just the heart is open and availing itself to being fully with life, right? Even in the hard stuff, which is also like, I know as my own path of practice and receiving these teachings for many years, I'm always just so grateful and expansively in awe of the capacity for how much I have to love in my life, no matter how difficult it is. Right. So it's this ability to love all parts of ourselves, all parts of the way life is unfolding. And that can get a little tricky in the more complicated parts of where I'm supposed to love that. I'm supposed to be invited in that this way of inviting love in as a way of knowing ourselves as love, to love it all. That's hard. It can be really hard, right? But it also, I know every time I've been asked to stretch or nudge myself into, can I love that too? There's only a profound deepening of what it means to love every single time. Every single time. I don't want to love, from the simple moment of my wonderful dog who's become an escape artist. And every day we play this game of who's going to win. Will he stay in or will he go? Can I love his personality and the effort and energy he's causing in my life? Yes. And when I'm in that place, it's delightful, even though it's a challenge. Right? It's a very funny little light challenge of my life at the moment, but it's limitless. Right. So I'll leave us with that inquiry of like that love opens us to love all of life. And in some places it's easier, but I think it really profoundly offers us this possibility to know we can love it all. We can love it all. And when we're in that place, how alive and wholesome and beautiful our lives are. So yes, I would just love to hear. We'll shift and pause there for a moment. What are your experiences of this question? What do I love?
The answer that I gave to this question, and I continue giving to this question, is, well, it's similar to you. I mean, I love life, really, and I love the adventure. I love the exploration. It's exciting to keep on learning, to keep on, as you said, there's so much. I'm so grateful for everything, the encounters, the epiphanies, the insights. Those are wonderful. I got this. This is interesting. So I love that. But I guess that it also boils down to know, well, I guess that's the fourth question. What gifts do I bring to share with the family of the earth? I love to learn and I love to teach. So those are things that I love very much in my days. So I'll stop there. What do you love?
I just wanted to say I loved Rochelle's thought process there, because I love the response to the first question of who am I, and that I'm constantly changing and reacting, so that I'm different, and that I'm very much a part of the whole. And then when you said, then that opens me up to love everything, that was a perfect segue. And as you say, it can be a bit of a challenge sometimes, that some people are easier to love, but I love that thought process. That was it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Nancy. Yeah, Stevie.
Yes, thank you. This was wonderful. Thank you for this morning. Yeah, I'm learning new lessons, changing. Obviously, we're all doing that all the time, and it's a wonderful experience. I love the unfolding of learning to love. I love the unfolding, because my own personal history is and could still be the closing off, the not the opening and then unfolding. And I'm learning more to do that. And when I do, it's just so much of it's a healthier, it's a warmer feeling. I'm more receptive. It's just a wonderful, wonderful feeling. And it's a growth feeling. And that's extremely pleasant to me. Where I wouldn't close a door, where I would have closed a door, now I'm leaving it open, sometimes just a little bit. Sometimes I'm opening it wide. And I'm just loving some of the things that are coming through. And if not, you can deal with that a little bit too, but at least I'm giving myself the opportunity to explore it more.
Yeah.
Make a better decision.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you, Stevie.
It says Paul's iPad, but it's Arlene.
Arlene, okay, thanks. I knew you weren't Paul, but I didn't want to say.
Okay. I have another feeling about what do I love? I find that as I've aged, my love may grow, but I also feel more vulnerable when I love. Because there can be loss, there can be sadness, there can be disappointment. I don't dwell on those, but when I am involved in a discussion like this, the thinking goes deeper. And I realize that I have always been one who loved a great deal of it could be a person, it could be an organization, it could be something that I got very involved in. But as I said, as I've gotten older, I feel more vulnerable as I love.
I'm glad that you brought that up. And I appreciate there's a reflection of, we don't linger on it, that there is a deepening of that way in which we are openly and receiving the impact of what it means to love in that expanded, really open-hearted way. Yeah. And it reminds me of, and this is like pointing us to the third question. So Arlene, you gave us a great segue for that. Right, as we're engaging in life with this way, how shall I live knowing that I'll die? Like, as we keep moving on in life and exploring maybe these deeper ways of experiencing ourselves, one another, what it means to be a part of life. How do I want to live? Knowing, right? And I would say that vulnerability is such a beautiful gift to know more deeply, because it allows us to experience those deep, profound ways to know the depths of love. Actually, even though, the heart goes a little, that could be hard. And like, if we rest back into the beautiful ways that this life is asking us to participate with it, it's just another way we get to know that depth of our life. And I'll share on this question. It has a very new meaning for me of recent. I was just starting to tell Piero about a recent life experience that I went through. I was planning to travel I'd been invited to South Africa to support some climate scientists over there with some of this work. And about 2 days before I was scheduled to leave, this has been planned for over a year. Lots of things involved to make something like that be possible. My cardiologist called me and said, you need to go to the emergency room now. We found something. I had a routine echocardiogram that I have for my heart once a year. I have a small congenital heart condition that they monitor. And it turns out that they found a vegetation on my heart. And I was sharing with Piero, I love that word right out of the gate. My cardiologist said, you have a vegetation on your heart. And I literally thought, you have a vegetation from the earth has come in to live on your heart. Okay, cool. That's exciting, right? Like terrifying a little on its own level to understand what that meant. And what it did mean is I was in a precarious position with this heart condition that I have. I have a hole in my heart, and this little vegetation was kind of swinging from side to side within my ventricles. And that's a bacteria. And if it lets go, you can stroke or have an embolism. And so getting on a plane for 14 hours, being in another country would not have been safe for my body and my being. And I share this because the profundity of this experience, which it was minus maybe when I was born, I came into the world with some difficult situations, but I have no consciousness of that. This was the first, like, oh, there's a real reality. Death is possible in the next moment. And having to sit with that, I'm fine now. I was hospitalized and I received a lot of very good treatment, and I'm healthy, and the vegetation is no longer with me, in my heart anyway. But that experience of how do I want to live in each moment was really alive. And it was so profoundly beautiful to trust the goodness of this practice that just let me lean back and enjoy more fully than I could even have known every moment of it. Knowing the nurses, knowing the doctors, knowing the sweet cafeteria staff who didn't really know how to make vegetarian food, but took it upon themselves to make it for me, asked me recipes, which I thought was so amazing, right? Life supporting life in such beautiful ways. And it made me really realize the importance, not only that these practices support us to live in our life fully, no matter what is unfolding next, but they wake us up to, and this next moment isn't given. And if it's not given, how do you want to be in it? And wakeful and participatory and loving it. It's really crystallized, at least in this moment, for me, two things have come out of that experience. One, this path, clear, here, allowing me to taste life and know life in that meaningful way. And also it has, and that the path I'm on to share this work is important, and I will continue. And that is more clear now. The other one that came alive for me is the community. My community had me, and the work I'm up to in the world is often a lot of healing of others and other community, and to feel literally what felt like my community and the earth just holding me so that I could proceed on to be cared for was just so illuminating, and not going to be taking that for granted either, right? So these kinds of communities are so important to not only wake us up on our path and to be supportive of the development, but an equal part of how life gets to be expressed and life moves through us, and how we get to live fully with one another in these places, right? It's a gift, profound gift. So I'll leave it with that. But what comes up for you? This is a pretty big question for me. So when Piero sent the questions, I was like, oh, yep, some answers for that right now that are very new and very alive. and beautiful to share. But how shall I live knowing that I will die? Knowing that I will. Like, and that will part, you can offer it like knowing I will die or knowing I will die. Like that one. I think that's the point of that question as he's posing it. But yes, would love to hear from you all on that.
I'm gonna say loving and surrounded by love.
Mm.
Period. End of sentence.
Love, surrounded by love. Yes. How will I live? Knowing I will die. Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah,
Stevie.
Stevie.
Unmute yourself, Stevie. I just want to say, I want to live without fear. I am realizing how much fear there is in me. And um, so I have been practicing to let go of Piero, the separate individual, and trying to merge with the universe, if you will. So there's no fear. But it's so interesting how it's oscillating. You know, sometimes I am in deep peace, undescribable peace. There is no fear. In other moments, the fear is there. So how shall I live knowing that I will die? I think is practicing to live without fear. Stevie?
Thank you. Yeah, it's interesting, Rochelle. I feel as though I had a very similar experience to the one you just explained. Mine was 9 years ago. It was kind of the reverse, though, of yours, because mine was with breast cancer, which was most likely going to be the end of the road, but for wonderful people and wonderful care, it was not the end of the road. And that experience in my life is what brought me to the practice. Yours was you utilized the practice and you're, and you're managing and you're, and it was funny because that's where I realized and found out about all of this right after, because the reason being was because the only way I could explain what happened to me 9 years ago was that it was the best thing that ever happened in my entire life. That was it.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. And you're naming again like these profound ways we could, if we didn't have this way of being willing to open to the whatever is here, even in those most profound, difficult moments of our life, that's the doorway to the liberation. That's the doorway to these ways of knowing peace, or often. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. Scott, please.
So, actually I plan to live forever and it's going well so far. So, I don't really have to worry about this one, but I get it. Just kidding, obviously. Yeah, so these are wonderful questions to ponder. I think I need a second cup of coffee for most of them, because it takes a lot of brain power to kind of think through it. But how should I live knowing that I'm going to die? And it's to to love, as people brought up, but also this planet, not just each other. To try to walk a little bit lighter than I could, and to and I think of some injustices, to try to just be there as someone, as a voice for those that maybe need one more voice. So it all ties together. You can put it all under that category of love that covers it. But each other, the planet, the marginalized, as best as I can, which I can't do everything, but that shouldn't stop me from doing the few things I can do.
I love that. Thank you, Scott. Yeah, and it's a perfect offering to our next question. And what gifts do I bring to share with the family of the earth? We all have them, just as you named, Scott. There are ways. We are a unique, beautiful expression of this earth, participating with this earth on behalf of this earth. And so that gift of the way that we participate with is needed. It's needed. However small we might think that it is, it's not. I really don't believe that. I believe all intentional ways that we open up to remembering we're part of this family, that begins a different way of knowing being together in all of this. And that is, in my opinion, part of the source of what creates a lot of the challenges that we suffer with on this planet. And for me, to answer this question more explicitly, what gifts do I bring? Well, I know that this form of me cares deeply, deeply, deeply about the way that people experience suffering, particularly around the way that we don't understand often the way I teach a lot about trauma, and trauma can have this very big word that we can think is more clinically, psychologically bound, and it's really not. It's when you distill it and look at it in a slightly different way, trauma is just a form of the way that we experience our inner being to be separate and unable to come back into the whole, into the relationship of the bigger web of life. That separating, that way of feeling suffering because we're separated, is what I think one of my gifts is, to help repair, so that if we come back into the fuller sense of our own sense of belonging, sense of knowing our own nature is beautiful and wonderful, we'll participate with the rest of the world that way. And that matters. That matters. At least for me, it feels like if I can help just a little in that realm of helping people to heal the way they feel separate or experience trauma in their life, or they're suffering in some form because of all of that. And if I help people wake up to the relationship of being with the earth to help heal that, I kind of feel like I can get out of the way because the earth will do the rest. It's like once, and some of you named that, right? It's like, if I have a taste of being outside and feeling more like myself or more connected, I care a little bit more about the earth. And I'll act differently from that place. So I feel like I have ways in which I can support people to open a little bit more to that way of being in relationship and to be healed by nature, so that we care about her healing. So that's where I feel like my gifts lie. And I choose most days to spend my energy giving it that gift as much as it can to the earth and to the family of the earth, which includes, tending to my garden on a very simple daily life and my sweet pets, but also coming and joining communities like yourself and being a part of different ways in my own respective community that I can help bring these healing practices in. I live here in Taos, New Mexico, and I've just begun some very poignant conversations with, of course, the way that this all works, just some beings from the Pueblo, which we have one of the oldest living dwellings for indigenous peoples here in Taos, New Mexico, in the world. And just started connecting to them and being able to share, this is what I do about trauma and healing. And a couple of these individuals have begun to talk with me about the suffering of the trauma from all of the colonization processes, but also the rampant use of alcohol and rampant use of addiction issues that are here. And I have gifts that I can bring to that community. And so I'm offering them in whatever way I can. But that's me. And just we're close to time. I'm going to pause there. I just want to hear where your gifts are, because we are all part of this planet, and where your gifts are being shared with our family. Thanks, Pierre.
So I love what you said about trauma in a simple way, because it is the feeling of separation that many times I feel that is, that brings all this drama into my life. But the moment that I don't feel separated, the moment that I feel part of the whole, the moment that I feel that I am in relationship, I experience peace, and that's what I want. I want more of that. So I talked before about the oscillation, but the gifts that I bring, I mentioned, it comes to what Scott was saying. It's coming from not being selfish or not being self-centered, but move your focus to the planet, what's happening in the planet, and all the injustices, all the oppression and exploitation, and all the suffering that exists. And so, looking at my talents and skills or my package, I say, okay, what can I do? So I decided to write about it. I decided to talk about it. I decided to teach about it. And I decided to bring reflections like this one that we're having right now. They are important. These conversations are not taking place as often as they should be taking place, because the moment that we change our mindset, then we're going to treat each other kindly. Then we're going to treat the planet kindly. So that's what I think are the gifts that I bring to share with the family of the earth. But I would love to hear other people, please, especially if you haven't spoken yet. Unmute yourselves and jump in. What gifts do you bring to share with the family of the earth?
Well, I've spoken, but I have something to say about this, which is just Mother Teresa. I mean, I used to think it was almost overwhelming to think, how can I make this earth a better place or bring justice? And I can't do it all. But I can do small, what does she say, Nancy? Small acts of kindness with great love. And my gifts are with children, with seniors, with animals. And in my own small way, I can bring, the children to the nature walk to experience. So hopefully that has ripple effects. I can go to the market, and there might be a lonely older person there, and I can deeply listen. And I feel like that's such a win-win to their story and to, so anyway, I think that small acts, baby steps, good enough.
Yeah, thank you for that. I just want to share, I think this is also an interesting question when we start saying, what are my gifts? And you're a gift because you're a human being walking with this family on the earth.
Yeah.
And that's enough. And I think we can get lost in the doing variable,
Mhm.
which is important. I'm not going to undervalue that. But I think, I would never judge a bee for not having enough gifts.
Correct.
I'm so thankful he's in my garden doing his gifty business to the rest of my garden and this earth. You too, right? We are not any different than that. And I think it's just the conditioning of seeing ourselves in a different light that gets in the way of that. So yeah, please, Linda.
I've loved this conversation, and I've really tried to listen with my whole person. And I think the last question is probably the hardest, because I think like my first impulse after, what you said resonated with me. It's like, I bring different gifts at different times of my life. And sometimes I don't know the answer to that question. And so just the exploring is maybe a gift. But I guess what's really important is that I bring awareness as much as possible to my surroundings, which include people and the earth, and respond in a, I don't know what adjective to say, but respond with love
Mm,
or
mm,
care, you know,
beautiful.
friendship.
Mm, mm. So well said. Thank you, Linda. And I just love that you brought in and we remember we're always changing with our gifts. And it's an evolution. And as you were speaking to at the end, I had that, the kind of iconic image of these practices, where you see the one drop of water, and in that moment of our presence, it ripples in all directions,
Yeah.
seen and unseen. Right? And the importance of that is profound. So thank you for that. Yeah. I think we're at our time. Yes, Piero?
Yeah, we have a little ritual we do at the end. We do the last word, and then we do a merit practice. So if you want to close your eyes and just think about the word or the words that encapsulate the feelings that you have in your mind and heart right now. And I'll call you as I look at the screen at the squares, and I call you to share the word. Okay, let's do it. Stevie and then Nancy.
Yes, gratitude for this exploration this morning.
Thank you. Nancy and then Penelope.
Thank you so much, Rochelle. It was wonderful. And my thought is being fully integrated with the world and the earth.
Being fully integrated. Penelope said, since childhood, nearly died 4 times in my life. Open to grow, let go, see good in all, bring gift to serve and love. Thank you, Penelope. Lynn and then Scott.
I love this Sangha, and I think we are the queens and kings of awesomeness. Thank you for sharing, Rochelle.
Thank you, Lynn. Scott and then Arlene.
A feeling of expansiveness. There's so much room to grow.
Beautiful. Thank you. Arlene and then Linda.
Thank you, Rochelle, very, very much. And my words are what Stevie said, gratitude and exploration.
Linda and then Rochelle.
The word that came up for me, which was surprising, is awe. Awe of what just even took place in this last hour.
Beautiful. Rochelle.
Deep gratitude and love.
Deep gratitude and love. My word is still is the peace that comes from no fear. The peace that comes from no fear. So if you would like to join me, we bring our hands together to express gratitude to one another for showing up, for being here, for engaging in this conversation, for practicing together. And although we know that this practice is beneficial to us, we also know that our practice is not selfish. We do not practice for ourselves alone. We know that our practice benefits the entire world. So we bow to each other with gratitude in our hearts and we say, thank you for your practice.
Thank you for your practice.
Thank you. Have a great day, everybody.
Lovely to meet everybody. I hope we can cross paths again.
Yeah, we're going to have a retreat in Colorado. It's Rochelle and I on August 20th to the 25th. Okay, you show.
Join us.
Yeah, show everybody. Let's roll naked in the grass.
That's a frightening thought, Piero.
We'll be doing the non-naked version.
It's not part of the curriculum.
It is not.
I love you all. Have a great day,
Bye.
everybody. Bye-bye.